Hello and welcome to Skeindeer Knits. My name is Ellie and I am a Norwegian living and knitting in London, and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Skeindeer, and you can find me as Skeindeer Knits on Ravelry as well, as a knitting pattern designer. And not to mention the Ravelry group Skeindeer Knits, which is where you can find about anything to do with knit-alongs that I am doing. I'm currently hosting two knit-alongs, the year-long knit-along and the Marius knit-along. They're both pretty long-term knit-alongs, and yeah, they are all going on over there. I'm not going to say much about them today, I don't think. There will also be a short-term knit-along for February, which I will start a thread for by then. It's going to be the Break the Rules KAL, where I want you to choose the wrong weight of yarn for your project. There will be more details about that in the relevant thread when that happens, but I'm just saying it now because chances are this might be the last episode of January, so I just thought worth getting out there. And the other thing I need to say up front about my Ravelry group is that that is by far the best place to get quick responses when you are perhaps stuck on my patterns, or you just need help with choosing yarn for it if you are substituting. I do get a lot of messages about this on platforms where I do not offer pattern support. I don't offer pattern support on Instagram or YouTube, for instance, and my Ravelry inbox is looking rather packed. So if it gets in the group, I pay as much attention to the group as I do with my inbox, but also when I'm out traveling, which I have been doing for the vast majority of the past few months, especially lately when I've been to New York and Norway, yeah, then it's just so much better for you if someone can answer your question quickly instead of waiting for me for days. But I'm still like paying attention to that group as much as my inbox, like I said. So the other thing I need to say is, unfortunately, I will not get to announce the winners for the Julekveld Knits nor the Selbu Club that we had as a KAL. I will probably, hopefully, do that in the next episode. The reason being is that I am still waiting for some of the prizes to come my way, and I do not feel like I can safely, reassuredly announce that someone's gonna get those things unless they are here in my hands. So it's mostly ready. I think there'll be 5 prizes for those 2 KALs altogether, so I'm guessing 1 for Julekveld and 4 for the club, maybe. That seems about fair. I wish I had more to give, to be honest. So I mean, if anyone want to get out there, maybe, I don't know, have some patterns to give away and just some smaller prizes, because there were just so many people taking part, and I did not account for that when I started this club. I didn't have a clue it was gonna take off the way it did, so that was super fun. Thank you all so much for your enthusiasm and part-taking. But what I need to say is that when I say it will go up on the next episode, it's not gonna be in the next video necessarily, because I have a feeling this is gonna be a 2-part episode, because I have so much to cover. The acquisition list is so long, I am deeply ashamed, but we're gonna have so much fun. So the second half of this video episode, the other video, is probably going to be about mostly what I got about knitting live before and after. Yeah, so hopefully that's all right, and I think we are just about ready to go into finished objects. But before that, I have some sort of sad news, is that my favorite Norwegian knitting magazine, Rather Gone, did not make it with their Kickstarter campaign for having their magazine translated into English. It popped into my mind when I was having my first day back in London after my New York trip that they only had a couple of hours left. I did what I could to have a live stream and talk about it at length, but in the end they didn't make it. But it went up so much during that little couple of hours where I pushed it so much, so I feel like there is hope. I just think I guess the reason why I'm mentioning this is that I wish that people will kindly kind of encourage the editors to try this again at the time when people may not be so distracted by the holidays, where maybe on a platform that allows for PayPal payments. I think that will help a great deal. And just, yeah, because I don't think this is impossible. I just think there were some circumstances, things that got in the way. So, because clearly the interest was there, like they made it more than 2/3 of the way, and a good chunk of it was like in the very last hours. So yeah, I have faith it might happen again, but damn it didn't happen this time. So yes, finished objects. You are looking at one. I did finish my Blåfjell sweater finally, and I can show you in full figure, I guess, except it's cropped, so I don't know how full that is, but yeah, there we are. And yes, you may have seen this sweater already because I took part in Kristen of Woolen Vine and the Yarn Getson podcast, her kind of bonus episode for her haul for Vogue Knitting Live. So a lot of the stuff I will be covering in this episode will also have been covered there. So if you've seen both, if you've seen that episode, you're going to be seeing a lot of things again, but hopefully you don't mind because it's knitting and we love knitting. So yeah, this sweater I bound up when I was over there. I am very proud of it. It's my design, which is crazy. I am very, very, very confident in designing mittens and socks with color work. I'm very confident with knitting yokes and kind of modifying them at length, but I've never designed a yoke before. This is my very first, and I am very proud of it. I think if it's super well, I have come across a lot of yoke patterns in my days where this yokey bit has had a good fit or a bad fit. I think it's very important to distribute the increases and make sure you have a lot of them by this point when your shoulders suddenly go wide. So most of it should just happen in this area, and I've just kind of tried to play around with that and make it work for every size. So yeah, there is a mathematical system behind it that I've sort of tried figuring out. I did base it on the inch measurements of the bust area for the Ann Budd top-down knitting book, but in the end I kind of departed a lot from that and come up with slightly more fitted sleeves than that book calls for. But they have positive ease here as well. There's positive ease incorporated into the entire thing. I haven't read much about the positive ease in the pattern because I think instead you just go by your measurements. You say, okay, I have a, oh, let's just say you have a 100 centimeter bust. There's a 100 centimeter size for the bust. You can say, okay, that will be a 1-to-1 size. It will be as tight as my bust. I want a little bit more, so I go the next size. And you can just kind of do that. Figure out how much positive ease you would like. And more than that, I haven't given the sizes a name. I haven't said this is the medium, this is the large, this is the extra large. Because I don't like when a knitting pattern or clothes otherwise tell me what size I am based on how much positive ease I like. Just, yeah. So they're numbered. It's from, I think, 1 to 10. Or was it 12? I have a lot of sizes because I think everyone deserves to have their size in there. I'm sure there are larger sizes and smaller sizes that I haven't included, but I just wanted to be as inclusive as I am kind of capable of, at least. So that I'm very proud of. So yes, the pattern has been sent out to test knitters. I have chosen test knitters. I did put up a call for that on Instagram. And guys, I'm very sorry that I am completely under capacity to reply to the people that volunteered and did not get selected. I just got so many people coming my way that I have no capacity to do that, especially when traveling, because I put the call out when I was in New York with very limited internet access. So yeah, hopefully that's something you understand, and I am super grateful for the people that have volunteered. It's gonna be, you know, a list I will be frequenting for future patterns as well, so you know, all may not be lost, but obviously I put up new calls for pattern test knitters whenever. I'm gonna probably put up another call for test knitters soon because I have some sock patterns in the works, and they're kind of, I want to say DK weight, arguably sport weight. It helps if you're Norwegian because the yarn I used was Norwegian, and it will probably be easier just to use that. But yeah, this is not my official put out the call. I'm just saying that may happen. You may want to pay attention to Instagram whenever I ask around for it. I'm not really talking much about this sweater now, am I? I used PT2, which is, interestingly, Finull garn now. So PT2 and Finull garn has until now been separate. So this is Finull garn. It's a bit of a scrap that I have. It says Finull garn on the label. That's what it's done for a long time, but now it says Finull PT2. And PT2 used to be a separate yarn, but they have now kind of just merged them which is essentially just dyeing up the fine garn yarn in the PT2 colors, I hope, because the colors are amazing. I'm very sad that PT2 is going away. I found it it did knit up a lot neater than fine. It's a very small difference. They are practically the same yarns. It's fully understandable that this one company does not want to pretty much identical yarns, but I find that it's a bit loftier. So this is PT2. So I find that this blue has a lot more body to it than this red. I don't know if that's something you can see, but when I knit it up, I can tell the difference. And it makes me sad that it's just not going to be anymore. So this is a special edition of PT2 that was being sold when I was a child, that had basically the logo from a TV show that used to run during Christmas when I was younger, and it was basically made so that you could knit up stuff from the show, because people wore blue clothes, so you could knit up blue stuff, the hats and everything. So both of these blue shades, I think, maybe, I don't know, 2 out of 3 blue shades that I'm wearing now are from that set, but you can still get these colors in fine garn and PT2 and other colorways, so it's not really an issue. But the reason why I'm pointing it out is because it's called Blåfjell. That was the name of the show, it's the name of the yarn, and thus the name of the sweater. It means Blue Mountain. But please don't feel like you just have to knit this sweater blue. I don't want to like put you in that, I don't know. Sometimes it's a bit of a, I know a lot of designers don't want to name their designs after the colour that they use, because then people feel limited in a sort of subconscious way, but hopefully you just kind of, you get the idea. I just kind of wanted to, I don't know, pay tribute to a show that influenced me a lot when I was younger, and I think it's just super cute. And yeah, what else do I have to say about this sweater? I have cropped it, and some might think that's not for me. I don't think I'll be getting this pattern, and I've thought about you guys. You can make it pretty much in 4 different ways. You can have it cropped or not cropped. I have not written actually what length you should crop it at, because everyone's waist is at a different point, so you're just gonna have to knit until you are 5 centimeters short of your waist, because the rib is 5 centimeters. It's pretty straightforward. If you don't want it cropped, I do have suggested lengths for that, so yeah. And the other thing is waist fitted. You can have it either waist fitted or not. If you're doing it cropped, then you only need to do the decreases. If you are not cropping it, you also have to increase, and the increase happens at a faster rate, because that's just how our bodies are. So you can pretty much play around with this pattern. Again, I've not specified how much to increase or decrease, because again, that depends on your measures. And so I've added simple formulas for how to use your measures and calculate how close you are to that. So let's say you start decreasing for the waist. I have told you in this pattern that if these are your measurements, then do this with the stitch count you have at the moment, divide it onto the gauge, you will get that measurement. You can compare that measurement with the measurement that you want and see if you are above or under. This is clearer in the pattern than what I'm saying here. I'm so glad I'm not doing like auditory patterns. That would be terrible. So yes, it's a sweater I hope to have out in February, and I think that's what I'm gonna say about that for now, because I spent a lot of time on this and there's so much to cover in this episode, namely my other finished object, which is hanging up here. Ta-da! It's my Lady Marble cardigan. So this is knit in Gilead yarn by Dererum Natura. It's lovely yarn, absolutely amazing, and it knits up. It's like a DK that knits up into an Aran weight. It's insane. It does have a neckline. It just kind of falls back because my rib on this is very loose, and I'm not sure if it's the rib or the bind off, because this is also a problem with the button bands, and happy to take any advice on board on that, because the button band does seem too large for the actual body, but once it's buttoned up it looks really nice. Don't know if you can tell, but there is waist shaping happening here. Not sure how well the waist fitting actually fits my waist, because in the end I just had to go by the total length, and this is why I prefer top down, honestly. So it was nice to kind of try a bottom up for a change, but really I am team top down, because I can first fit it down to my waist and then increase and then just knit to the length that I want. When it goes the other way, I'm like, okay, I've done the waist fitting and now I have to knit until I have the length. And like, oops, that didn't hit the waist. What are you gonna do? So yeah. And oh yeah, this is the cedar wood thingy thing that keeps the moths away, or the nargles. Some people will get that reference. Yeah, the yarn is not as pill resistant as I got the impression, but it hasn't peeled up that much given that I worn it quite a bit. So to give you an idea, it's not terrible. You're not getting big balls of pilling, just a little bit of fluffing, just a tiny bit. I'm not sure I have much else to say. I haven't actually blocked it. It's got lace on it and I haven't blocked it, but it seems to just kind of open itself, so I'm not too fussy about it. And yes, I am back in my lovely loud neighborhood. It's such a quiet place, but there's always someone who manages to make some kind of fuss. Oh joy. But yes, other things I have to say about this is that if you are going to make it, I want to tell you about a couple of modifications that I did that you may or may not want to do. And we're gonna just keep talking over this now because we don't know how long it's gonna last. The main thing I wish I had done was decreasing more from under here as I went up here, because then I would have had fewer stitches here and not an intentional drop shoulder, because that wasn't very nice, because my shoulder ends here, this drops down here, and yeah, it's not a great fit. It's not a terrible fit either. I still wear it and love it. What else did I do? I went for the length of the shorter size, even though I knitted up to XL, because I wanted a kind of cozy cardigan. So there you go. The other thing I did was knit in the round. You can do that if you want. I did that, and yeah, no regrets. I had to stick it, and I had to stick it with a sewing machine, because this yarn is not stickable without some securing of that kind. I would not just go with the crochet edge there. It seems a little bit too slick, because everything beyond the sewing edge for me, it just kind of unraveled immediately. So you can see that here, it's just kind of, you know, this wouldn't have happened if I had used a more sticky yarn. So it doesn't just help that it is a non-superwash. You kind of have to take into account the nature of the yarn, the way it is spun. Does it have enough bite to it that it's not going to unravel? So good thing I went with my gut instinct and had my mum sew over it to basically get a good stick. It's amazing how quiet this area is right until I start recording. It's such a reoccurring thing. Even though I choose different times to record. But yes, Lady Marple would recommend for sure, whether you want to do it in the round or knit it flat, have it your way. So there is that. Oh god, I just could talk about this forever, because it knitted itself. It was so potato chippy, mindless, whatever buzzword you want to use for a knit that just knitted itself. I didn't finish it in time for Christmas, which I had hoped for, but guess what? Christmas is gonna happen at the end of this year as well, so it's fine. Now I had another finished object as well, and that was the Santa's Workshop socks by Critium Handmade. I mean, dyed by Critium Handmade. It's kind of improvised vanilla sock pattern on my part, but I realized I wore these quite a bit. I realized that because they're so tight, I can't also stretch it out lengthwise, so they're actually a bit too short. I mean, they're too tight, but I can't change that now, so I can change the length. So I ripped up the toe for the sock that I've shown you finished before, so you know I'm speaking the truth, they were finished once, and I'm just adding another 20 rows or so. Yes, that much. But that means, sadly, that I will have to unravel the gobstopper I made of the remains. So first I'm just gonna knit from this, and then I'll just roll it, kind of wind it the reverse way, I guess. So this yarn came in a skein. I just decided to play around with what I had left, and yeah, it's super cool. So I'm just going to show you a close-up of the colors. It's a superwash merino nylon, and yeah, that's about all I have to say about it. It's, yeah, really nice to knit with. I knitted really tight. I'm not going to go for this gauge in the future, I don't think. It's just, yeah, I picked Mina's brain, who we all know is a sock knitting machine, and we tried out the Ann Budd ruler that we both bought at the Lion Brand studio in New York, and I was nearly off the chart. Like, my gauge was almost not included on that ruler. I'm gonna get back to that ruler in my haul, but yeah, This gauge is probably unnecessarily tight, and I did this on a 2.5mm, so saying something about how tight I knit. And I don't know why I knit tight. I think it's just because there's not much distance in my work, so I keep the yarn fairly close to the back of my work. I knit from kind of the tips of the needles quite a bit. It's not that I put in much force in my hands. I knit very relaxed, and I have rarely any pain in my arms, so I think it's just that really. Now another finished object I have, which you have seen many times because it was technically finished about a month ago, but I finally sat down and sewed it all together and blocked it, and that is my Molly socks by Tant Ultus. So there we are. Her real name is Anna Bergman, in case you were wondering, but yeah, she has the amazing book Tant Ultus Socks, which is just full of inspiration. And I totally stole the color idea from Pinnegudi when she knitted up these, because she did her box of socks only from this book. She did 12 pairs during last year, which is incredible. Anyway, this is what I have. I used Lang yarns, Jowl. We can never agree on the pronunciation, it's fine. Yeah, I have lots of good things to say about them. The sewing bit was obviously getting this kind of picot edge to get that, because it's sewn on the inside like that, which I really like. It's such a neat effect. It's just being bothered to get around to it, I guess. I was a bit disappointed to know that the Lang yarns, the extra strengthening thread is not enough for both heels and toes, so there's only reinforcement in the heel, and the toes are just gonna have to handle my wear and tear of them, I suppose. So yeah, very happy with them. Did not make it to the box of socks this year either, last year. The main reason is that I'd kind of missed the whole fingering weight criteria, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna ever make 12 pairs of fingering weight socks in a year, just because I like to do different weights. I'm currently working up lots of kind of DK to sport weight socks. Got some heavier DK as well. I don't wear my knitted socks the way I wear commercial socks. I wear them over my tights usually. They're kind of slipper-like. And right now I'm feeling really funny because I can't find my other favorite knitted sock, and so I'm just wearing one. So I got one warm foot and one cold foot. By the way, did I mention that it's my birthday today? Happy birthday to me! So this episode is not going to go up on my birthday, I don't think, because I'm super busy. Not because of my birthday, but because of work. So I don't know if I have plans today. I'm probably going to go out and knit and eat with some pals, because I have a little sort of knitting group that will meet up here. It's kind of a bummer to have a birthday in London, because most people I have befriended in this city have left the city. It happens all the time. This is London. Nobody comes to stay. So I'm just gonna be like, yeah, birthday guys, birthday. So yeah, happy birthday to me. And speaking of birthday, I got the most amazing birthday present in the mail. I can't really show it off as a finished object because it's not my finished object, but I'm gonna show you anyway, because this was a lovely present from Amy, who is Amy Self Linlan on Ravelry as a designer, and she has the Amy's Little Kingdom podcast, and she's just a lovely person who sent me the most amazing birthday present. And Amy, I'm so excited that we're going to meet up again in Edinburgh, because yeah, we're pals. So this is what I got. I'm just going to put them on. Hang on. Look at me! Oh my god! So this is the sample from Amy's very own pattern. Oh, and she managed to do a hat that actually goes over my head. And it sits, you know, it's like, I can usually do one of two hats. The ones that are too tight and the ones that fall off, because I try to modify them. This stays on and it's comfortable and fits, and got something in my eye. Oh well, nothing I can do about that now. My eye is just gonna get more and more red as this episode goes on. Anyway, I am super grateful for this. This is so comfy and just, yeah, it fits me really well, and it's the right color, and the softest little pom-pom. Oh my god, it's so soft. Yeah, this is not the kind of pom-pom that I snagged off H&M, that's for sure. This is good stuff. Yeah, thank you. Oh my god, I just love this. Okay, now I'm gonna take it off and get the worst hat hair ever. Ah. I'm thinking about dyeing my hair black again. I've had my blonde hair for about I want to say 4 or 5 months now. I just cut off the last dyed bits in August, and now I'm like, it looks kind of good on hide black here, or like dark brown. I don't know. This whole like blue-eyed blonde blue sweater thing is kind of working for me as well. So, decisions. Anyway, look at this, look at this. Look at this cowl. So this you can get all in the same pattern by Amy. It's all made to match the Lily cardigan that she did, which I had a giveaway for earlier. Just look at that. Look at that. And the hat. This is good stuff. Yeah. So thank you so much, Amy. Thank you. Just... Okay, I'm gonna put that away and keep talking about stuff that I have made or am working on. And I still have something in my eyes. Ooh. So I have suffered from some severe costinitis lately. Like, okay, I'm going to tell you how many projects I'm going to share with you in this works in progress section, which is the reason, partially, I have to do 2 videos for this episode. Because I have 6 projects to cover, and most of these are recent cast-ons because I don't know what I'm doing. The thing is, like, I did one of those make 9 things on Instagram. So I made a collage of 9 things I want to make this year. And I just thought it was like a casual fun thing. Like, I always talk about my queue and I'm like, I may make it, I may not. And now it seems like a thing that people take seriously, that I'm like actually gonna make these. So I guess I'm gonna make them. And I know Katie, she made videos on both the 9 things she wants to sew and knit, and yes, I was totally gushing and blushing over the fact that my club mittens are in there. But yeah, so now I'm like, okay Katie, it's on. So I just tried to cast on as many things as possible from this make 9 and a bunch of other things that's got nothing to do with the make 9. Anyway, let's cover that, shall we? The first thing that I have made, it's not finished yet, but I better finish it by the end of the month because January is mitten knitting month. Apparently, so I cast on the Astrantia mittens by VKL, and they are nearly done. These knitted themselves. It was so quick. It's definitely a gauge that I'm going to be looking into for my own mittens, I think, because that was super gratifying. And I'm lacking thumbs. I should have added the thumbs right away because then I would have finished weeks ago. But there we are. Aren't these lovely? And yes, they're made in fine yarn, the yarn I just showed you, and just by the way, did I mention about this sweater that you can knit in Hulse super soft? That will make it a lot more skin friendly and light. So, thing I forgot to mention. We'll go over this when I actually release the pattern. Yes. So, these mittens, fine yarn, I love them. It's a very kind of grey white, which is my new favorite shade of white. I don't like bleached white that much. I do like natural white, but it is a bit on the yellow side. This kind of grey white is my new favorite. Just, and burgundy, of course. It's like, it's a very crimson color, this. So yeah, show you the close-up. Yes, so absolutely loving this design. It's got a very nice kind of thumb gusset fit by decreasing some up here, which I could take some lessons from there as well. But yeah, good stuff. Always love knitting mitten patterns from VKL and would highly recommend them. And a lot of them are translated into English, so that is worth checking out as well. I'm not sure if these are, but you know, maybe you can kindly ask her if she would be interested in doing so. Doesn't hurt. The other project I have now cast on is quite the undertaking. I have no idea what I was thinking, but I put it in my make 9 and I kind of wanted to be my Edinburgh sweater, kind of, sort of. And yeah, if I'm gonna finish it by March, I need to get going on that. So I cast it on the flight to New York. But before we get into what this is, unless you of course watched the Yarngasm episode that I guested, I want to talk about this bag. So my mom, it's not someone I would describe as a crafty person. I think she used to make a lot more stuff before I was born. She bought her sewing machine when she was in her, I want to say, early 20s. And first thing she did was like making a fully lined coat. I think they're called duffel coat or something. Like a proper complex thing. Lined, the whole thing. But she doesn't really do it much. But when she does it, it's like good stuff. And I was like, I like project bags. You make me project bags. And maybe some for my birthday. And Mom was like, yeah, I'll make you one. And I'm like, I got fabrics for 5. So yeah, bit shameless, but yeah, this is the first one that came out. I think Mom spent a good long time on figuring out how to do this, and it came out twice as long as we had measured, but that's right, because it fits the pattern booklet. I feel like maybe we should have added some interfacing. I say we, as if I was doing anything but sitting there and watch and go bag. So yeah, interfacing wouldn't hurt, but it's fine that it doesn't have it as well. The fabric I picked up at Stoff og Stil, which is a Scandinavian chain of fabrics and actually some yarn. It's really good. They do patterns as well. I really like them, and so we picked up a lot of good fabrics there, and this was kind of the most neutral one that Mom could kind of experiment on a bit, because I feel a lot more strongly about the other fabrics, so that's going to be exciting. So yes, now that I've covered that about this bag, let's cover the contents. The light is just going in and out all the time now, but I have my studio lights now, so I don't have to care anymore. Would recommend, if you have the funds, to get one. I don't think I paid much more than £20 for my one lamp. It's apparently more flattering to have 2 lamps, but someone's on a budget. You wouldn't think that by this episode, but I am actually. So yes, this project is... Okay, let me show you what it's gonna look like before I show you what mine looks like. It's supposed to look like this. I call it the Doma cape because it's by Doma, and it's a cape, and they don't ever name their patterns. This is a fun fact about Norwegian patterns. They come in these kind of publications that have like 20 to 40 patterns in them, or less or more, and they never name them. They tend to just name them by the order that they come up in the booklet, and if the same pattern comes up in a different booklet, it gets a different name, a different number. You often find that with the Marius patterns as well. It's like Marius 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. It's like, it's just because it was in a booklet with 4 Mariuses. They're all Mariuses. It's ridiculous. Unless you're talking about the Marius 2 that is called that because it's a second version of the Marius that looks like Cortina. That's a different beast entirely. Tangent. So this is my baby. I'm gonna make this. It's the most insane undertaking, I am aware, but yeah, I want it, and it's beautiful. And if you want to see more pictures, I highly recommend checking out Lori ×5 on Instagram, because it was her cape that won me over, and it's pretty cool that she found that pattern at Vogue Knitting Live previously at the Yarn Guys booth. They were not there this year, but I cast this on my way to Vogue Knitting Live, and Wall of Yarns was there, and they had this pattern translated, and they had a sample out which I put on, and it's amazing. But the only difference is that I am choosing to knit this in Holst Super Soft rather than a favorite of mine, Roma Fine Garn. So it may seem a bit ridiculous that I chose not to use a favorite yarn that is purely Norwegian, and I'd rather use a kind of more well-traveled yarn. It's because it's going to be so much lighter and cheaper, not to mention. But yeah, I just knew with myself that if I'm going to make it very heavy, I'm probably not going to bring it out as much as I would have. So this is what I have, and this has probably taken me around 12 hours to make. I spent 8 hours on the plane doing the majority of this. I just got to the color work when we landed, and the rest I worked up since. And it's just a snake. It's just an eternity snake that just keeps on going, and each row takes forever. So, but this is what it looks like. I can give you a close-up. You can see it's quite webby. I don't know if that's a word, but I'm gonna go with it. It's kind of see-through. It doesn't look very nice, but if you don't know this already, when you wash up Holst Super Soft, you get a fully fledged fabric. It is not see-through the way this is. It blossoms, all the spinning oil comes off, and it gets softer, and it's so rewarding. I know some people like washing up their cakes beforehand. They just put them in like a pantyhose or something and put them in the washer, and then just put them in a stocking or something, and they put them in the washer, and it comes out all bloomy already. I just kind of like to have that reward at the end of my knitting, so I look forward to having that here as well. I am a bit nervous about the cast on. It seems a lot tighter than the garter just below it, but that could be because the garter is too loose, because I didn't see the little note about going down in needle size for that bit. So we'll see what happens. I may have to redo the bit that took me the longest to do. That's fine, that's fine. So the most interesting thing about this, I think, is the steek. So it's a triangle shawl. I think it's an elongated triangle shawl that you knit bottom up. And instead of going back and forth when you reach the end of the round, you just start the other end of the round so that you always work the right side. And the steek will then be cut. And with this kind of yarn, you don't really need to do anything but cut. I prefer washing it up first, and also before washing, add 2 crochet bands on each side of the steek just to keep it neat. It doesn't help with the security to a great extent, but it keeps it very neat and makes it, the steeks kind of fold over when they've been cut so they're not in the way. I have also bought a little band for it, so I got this in a sewing shop in Norway, and I think it's enough for the wingspan, I hope. And it's gonna look really nice on it, I think. It's some kind of woven something. And the other thing I got for this shawl was this clasp. It's gonna go in the front. Having a hard time making this focus, but this is gonna have to do, I think. So you get the idea? That will go to the front of the cardigan. Now these are not cheap, so I'm glad I only needed 1 pair to say. So yeah, this little clasp and this band. I got that from Sommer in Trondheim. It's an old sewing shop that have all the buttons. It's a fabulous shop. It's not really for knitting, but they do have the odd Prim needles and some Prim Knit Pro compatible wooden needles, so that's pretty good as well. So yes, this is Holst Super Soft that I'm using. It's very generous on the meterage. It comes in 50-gram cakes, and they have 287 meters or 314 yards on them. It looks like lace when you knit it up, but trust me, it grows and blooms after wash, and I just can't stop saying that because it's such an amazing process that is so rewarding. So yeah, we'll look at this bag in a bit because there's more to it. Now there's another bag story here that comes from my Vogue Knitting Live experience or visit to New York, which I will be covering more in the second half of this episode, the other video, oh my god. But that is that Kristen of Yarngasm gave me a bit of a crash course in sewing project bags. I am not going to say I'm an expert just yet. There was a lot of instances where she just had to take over. But I did sew the odd few seams on this lovely bag with this amazing fabric that I think screams both of our names. Just look at that. How gorgeous is this bag? I had such sober feelings about project bags until I started this podcast, and I'm just like, oh my god, bags. So it even has like a deer progress keeper. I don't use progress keepers, but it's so cute to just have on this zipper, and it just goes with the fabric. And now, because I want to say Kristen did the majority of the sewing on this, I insisted that she put her name on it, so that was kind of a last minute ordeal. And yeah, look how pretty. It's so silvery and shimmery and gorgeous, and the inside is also pretty amazing. It's got like this night sky here. That's what I choose to call it anyway. And we are joined by the neighbour's dog. Good to be home. So yeah, there's a project in this bag. That is why I'm holding it up under my works in progress segment. And the work in progress here comes from something I purchased in New York. I'm gonna cover it again, I think. I think that's the easiest way to do it. I bought a whole sweater quantity of Lark because I love Lark from Quince & Co. It's like knitting with suede or something. It's so smooth, but not in a slick way, but in a sort of matte way, in a sort of way that feels like a very luxurious cotton, but not the rigidness and ickiness of knitting with cotton. That's on my experience. It's very hard to describe. It's wool, but it feels like something else entirely. And what I've cast on is I think it's arguably a bigger undertaking than that cape, and it had nothing to do with my Make 9. I just got talking about this pattern with Jacqueline of Brooklyn Knit Folk, and it is the Knox sweater by Michelle Wong, and I've cast on the sleeve. Look at this. Like every time I work a row on this, whether it be the wrong side or the right side with the cabling, I have to just put it down and admire my work. And I know that sounds like I'm tooting my own horn, but this cable design is everything. And I don't usually fall for cables. Like, I love them, but I'm like, but there's color work and garter and stockinette and simple things that go fast. But yeah, no, I went for this. There are a bunch of stitch markers here because I like to see where my new chart repeats are, because it does kind of go in a diamond shape that could make it a bit confusing, so I just prefer having that. I don't know how long I'm gonna need it, but there you go. The tripod is giving a bit of shade. The tripod is throwing shade at this. It's, yeah, adding a bit of shade to it, so hopefully you can see it well. Anyway, I love it. It's so 3D. My knitting is not usually this 3D. You will notice now that I am knitting this flat. I did swatch for it actually, so I decided from that actually that I don't mind knitting this flat. This is my swatch, because you work most stockinette stitches on the back, but you need the front to do the cabling. So either way I'm happy really, so I don't mind. And so this is going to be my first seamed garment, and who better to do it with than Michelle Wong, because she is the cable queen, and that's the main reason I would probably knit flat and seam. So I have a few things to say about the pattern and the swatch. I struggle a bit with the pattern because I am completely new to knitting flat and seaming, and I'm not sure if I want to say that this is that beginner friendly for that kind of knitting, because you should use selvage stitches, and it says in the pattern that garter selvages are used throughout, except that they seem to be included in the rib of this sleeve, because if you don't have the last and the first stitch made into garter selvages, then you're going to have two sets of 2 knit stitches together. So when I turn one of this into garter and one of this into garter, when I join them in the round for seaming, I will have 1 knit stitch facing on each side. Hopefully that made sense. But when I go up to the chart, that was not included anymore. Then I had to cast another 2 stitches. I'm not sure if I was supposed to, but if I hadn't, I'd have to cable the selvages, which you shouldn't do. So that's something to be aware of. I have only done the sleeve, not the body pieces, so I can't comment on that more than that, but it got me a bit confused for a long time. And I spent a whole day casting on the sleeve because I tried the 2x2 rib tubular cast on, and it's not for me, I don't think. I used to love the 1x1 tubular cast on, and then I guess I love my twisted longtail so much, the German or the Norwegian if you will, that I essentially just started doing that everywhere. But the 2x2 tubular cast on was too rigid for me. I did not get it to be flexible at all. Not sure what I did wrong, but for me it makes sense given the method that you use when you have kind of, so when you join, you kind of knit 4 rows, and when you join them, so to speak, you have 2 stitches from that and 2 stitches from that. It makes sense that it's not going to be any more flexible than half the number of stitches that you end up having. Yeah, so I gave up on that. I'm happy with my, what I call twisted longtail, which is the German twisted or the old Norwegian cast on. It's a twisted longtail. It's not really that different. It just has that extra bit of flexibility to it, which I really like, and it's going to be great for the sleeve. And yeah, having a lot of fun with this pattern, although I cast on so much since I got home that it has a huge UFO potential, this thing, which is, I guess, fine, because it's my only cable pattern, so whenever I'm feeling cables I just pick up this, I guess. I mean, I don't have a huge deadline for this. It's just gonna happen when it happens, I think. And the yarn, Lark is one of my favorite yarns. I already had one rant about it. I just thought I'd show you. It's a new colorway of theirs, which I think I'll just go more into depth with my haul. And it's beautiful, and it's weird because sometimes I'm like, this is grey, this is a dark grey, and then I'm looking at it in a certain light, I'm like, it's blue, no, it's green. I have no idea what color this is. It's just some color. I guess it's a greenish, arguably slightly blue-grey. Can we call it that? I don't know, but it's gonna be amazing. And the main reason I chose that color was because that was the only color with sweater quantities in one dye lot, and I liked it. I think they had a bright red one as well. It was pretty close to that color, but given I just made that, I figured let's do another color. So, special project, and a very special project bag that I love. This could perhaps be my favorite project bag. It's just gorgeous, and the sweater is gorgeous, and it's just, yeah, giving me so much knitting mojo. Not that that was ever lacking, but yeah. Now, my plan for when I got on the plane for returning to London was to knit more on those cables, But it was a very late flight. It was overnight and my plan was to sleep on the flight actually, but there was so much turbulence. I could have sworn the flight was going to drop right into the Atlantic at some point, at most points actually. So I didn't really sleep much. So I did some vanilla stocking. I cast on some of the Felice yarn that I got from Vogue Knitting Live, which again I'll get back to in the haul. But I do cast on my yarn when I buy it. I don't just buy it for squishing and looking at it. So you will see the Quince & Co and the Felice yarn again. Yeah, this is the stock. Just gonna have to pull out some bits and bobs. It's Felice, but the contrast yarn is actually Patterns Croy. So there, that is a yarn that's kind of coveted by Europeans because for some reason, even though we have patterns yarns here, the Croy yarn, not a thing here. And it's nice because it's a sport weight, and I got the solids actually rather than the self-striping because I really like the idea of having sport weight yarn for the heel and the cuff and the rib for that matter, because you add that extra strength to these bits that get the most wear. And Felice is a kind of a limp sock yarn. It's a little bit flimsy, a bit frail. It's got nylon, so I mean I reckon it's going to be strong enough. And yeah, just give you a close-up of what it looks like. I really like these colours. I like how this is looking. I like the fit of these socks. They are a lot looser than my Christmas socks or my previous Felice socks. I'm not sure if I'm going too loose now. Gonna have to check the sock hive mind about that. We'll see. I find that they have a comfortable fit now that I've tried them on. This could have been a haul because I'm on the rib. The rib is happening. It's not gonna be that long because I don't use that long a rib, I don't think. But yeah, I just started knitting something else. But hopefully these will be finished soon because I really like them, and who knows, maybe this will pass for the box of socks even though some sport weight. I think these are categorized as fingering, even though I'm looking at it I'm like, that's sport. So it may pass. Maybe I'll have a go at the box of socks again, who knows. So sorry Amy, I just stole your catchphrase. So yeah, I'll put the socks aside. No, wait, I'm gonna talk a bit about Felice. So Felice is cheap, it's very cheap, and you do get what you pay for. So I decided to do a center pull from the skein, which was fine, and I knit the first stripe and I get into the red and there's a knot, and the continued bits of red go straight into the wrong color. I can't knit from that. That's gonna make them stripe up wrong from up here. So I have to go further into the skein and look for when the red reappears, but that wasn't too long because the red was tied up with this color, so I only had to go through a bit of black, lilac, purple, and get back to the red. Yeah, and then it striped pretty well all the way up to here, and then I got up to this point, but I had actually wound up the rest of the skein to see if I could match this up with what I had left. I don't care so much about matching, but if I had the equivalent left, I might as well, and I did. So I made that into a little temporary ghost stopper. So then I ran out of yarn up to this point, but I realized I had that purple stripe left from way back when. So I joined that up here and got another stripe done, which is good to have a slightly longer leg. And that stripe is already here. So I can do that with both. This is the equivalent of what I have here, but it's at least not free. There's not gonna be any join here. It's not gonna be any join here. So it's gonna be a lot more smooth sailing with the second sock than this one. So I managed to make it add up, but it requires a lot of winding and making sure you don't have knots and that kind of thing. It's a bit of a task, but it's not because I'm so concerned with matching socks, because I'm really not. It's because of the knots, not pun intended, but yeah. I just wanted to know that it stripes up in the way that it should. Yeah. So, sock thoughts for the day. But in case you are interested in perhaps a mutual tight knitter, I've now gone up from 2.5 to 2.75 and added another 4 stitches. So we'll see how that goes. There's now 64 stitches and a looser gauge. I might have gone a bit too far on both now. Maybe I should have just done one or the other. We'll see. I'll find out. So that was my cast on my way here, and whilst having been here for just one weekend, I managed to cast on another 2 projects, and these are not small projects either. I don't know what I'm thinking, but at least these are from my Make 9. So yeah, the first project is actually me joining the VKL for the Edinburgh Yarn Festival podcast lounge, because Lucky Yarns are sponsoring the podcast launch, which means that if it's going to be like last year, they will have their yarn stand next to the lounge instead of being with the other vendors, which gives them lots of special attentions when people go to meet podcasters, which is pretty clever. But they also do a knit along that you can join whether you're going or not, and I'm going, and so I want to join. And I have sweater quantities of Cornish tin, which is a weirdo wool blend with, like, I think both wool and alpaca and mohair and what have you, and it's really nice. So I got this in a swap, and I then swapped myself 3 other skeins, so I have 6 altogether, which should be plenty, if not too much. Probably I'm going to crop it, so it's going to be too much. That's just what I do. So I am actually knitting the Siri cardigan, so I've gotten this far. But before we get into that, I want to talk about my swatch. Now, because I've shuffled around everything I own for recording this podcast, I don't know where the swatch is, but the main problem with the swatch is not where it is, but what needle size did I even use? Why could I not include that? But if memory serves me right, I think I swatched with 4.5 because that was just kind of my gut instinct for my gauge, plus the pattern calls for a 4mm, and in the vast majority of cases I have to go up half a needle size. So I think I swatched with 4.5, and I decided that while I was on gauge with that, I felt that the fabric was a bit too dense given the yarn I was using, so I went up to 5mm, and I'm actually knitting it at a looser gauge. But that meant I could do the medium, which helped so much because someone who is a brilliant genius saint on Ravelry has made short row instructions for the neckline. Because if there's one thing I've noticed about the Siri cardigan, is that the neckline is too low. It's too wide and too low. There are too many stitches for my liking anyway, so I'm so happy that I can now incorporate those short rows, because that is really only meant for the small and medium size. It should work for the large size as well, but it takes a bit more mind power to make it work. Whereas in this kind of project page tutorial, she just gives you the instructions on how to do it. And yeah, so that's great. I love it so far. I think it's a brilliant texture, so I'm just going to show you. So hopefully this is going to show up, because I've now worked in the round quite a bit, so it may look the same all the way around. But this is where I have, yes, I made a steek. It's knit flat, but I don't want to knit flat. I don't like knitting flat, and I think this yarn is very steekable. I'm going to have to do maybe a swatch because it may unravel, and then I'm going to have to add a sewing seamy thingy. That's fine. So yes, this is where the round begins, I suppose. You can see how far I got, but if we go to the neckline, it is a lot more. So I'm going to show the right side actually, because that's the pretty size, isn't it? And yeah, it's just a very, very clever construction that has basically added row -13 up to -1. And so then once you work those, you start on row 1 from the actual pattern. I love it. It took a bit of brain power, not gonna lie. A bit of working with pearls, I have to say, but yeah, this is what it looks like. I have to say the stitch pattern may not come up as well as it could have with this yarn or this gauge arguably, but I think it shows up fairly well anyway. With this light, things aren't really showing up that great. I'm not sure what that's all about, because I noticed that with the Nox sweater as well. It looks more 3D in real life than it did here. Things look a bit flat. I'm trying to show you it at an angle. But yeah, I think this texture pattern is ingenious. And so this texture pattern is actually based around a stitch that is either knit 2 together or knit 2 together through the back loop. Which is ingenious. I'm not going to say more than that because there's more to it, but obviously that's the pattern, not for me to say. But the stitches, not the ones that knit 2 together, but the ones that knit 2 together through the back loop, they become twisted, and that doesn't mirror the knit 2 together. But you'll find this a lot in Scandinavian patterns. We use that method more than SSK, but I recommend going from the knit 2 together through the back loop so that they become twisted. Instead of doing that, going to the SSK. So just rearrange the stitches the way you do with an SSK, slip, slip, knit, and then do what the pattern says that you do. You knit one stitch and then the other, that stuff, you know. and that looks so much neater. I'm gonna see if I can show you. So up here was when I didn't do it. Can you see that? It looks very strange. I don't like what's going on there. But then further down here I changed it, so now they are no more twisted, I suppose. You can see that here as well, how much neater they look now. So very happy I decided to do that. I think, yeah, maybe I should have been consistent, but I wasn't gonna go back, and I knew that I would be annoyed if I was gonna keep doing something I didn't like, so I just changed it right up here, and I figured what's coming from below here and further down is what's gonna show the most, and that's basically what counts the most. Well, it's in the very beginning and up in my short rows. Who cares? So yeah, very happy with this, and now I've dropped a lot of stitches because I tried showing you this stuff, so that's something we're gonna have to deal with a bit later on. But I'm enjoying this knit. I'm hoping to have it ready for Edinburgh, but there's a lot of things I'm hoping to have ready for Edinburgh. So realistically speaking, yeah, we can only hope, I guess. By the way, I haven't said that on the podcast yet. Oh my god, I am the worst. It's just been so much. No, I don't think I have said it on the podcast, but I am going to be in the Edinburgh Podcaster Lounge. I have been given a podcaster pass, which means that I have, I guess, some sort of special invitation, which me and another 24 podcasters have, and they are all listed on the Edinburgh Yarn Festival website, so you can see what podcasters will be there. However, I want to say that, I mean, I was there last year and I did not have a podcaster pass, and it really made no difference. So if you are a podcaster and you do not have a pass, business as usual. You don't get that special invite, I guess, but I don't think that's important. I'm very flattered and happy to have it. I'm so excited, but if you are a podcaster who do not have a pass, come along anyway. This is for all podcasters, and I can say that because they say that to Edinburgh Yarn Festival. So yes, I'm hoping that there's going to be lots of podcasters there, and just lots of mingling and chattering and shopping at the Black Yarn stand. So yes, I am going to be there. I hope to see you there too. Be aware that I'm a proper weirdo in real life, so you have been warned. So there is one last cast on, which I did last night. I'm not sure what I was thinking. Actually, I know what I was thinking. I was thinking I have a pretty impressive stash of Labia and Amy yarn, and I bought more at VKL. And I was like, just how many brown skeins do I need? So those of you who have been with me for long enough will remember the fade that didn't happen in the end. You know, I knitted it and frogged it, and this is what I have. Lots of amazing autumnal shades, and also this. So there's some of the light beige in here, and there's these two brown shades, and I just have a lot of brown autumnal Labia and Amy. And so what do I do with all of this stuff, I hear you say? Well, I decided, well, I have decided a long time ago actually, but I finally decided to cast it on the Vertices Unite by Stephen West. I know, I'm knitting Stephen West again. I have started the exploration station, but it's a proper UFO by now. I need to get proper into brioche first, I think. So yeah, this is what I am working up now, and it's beautiful. The way this is striping, oh my days, I am obsessed with this. The way this is striping, I could just keep striping this garter stuff. So I'm using these two colorways. This is Undergrowth, and this is, hang on, Santoki. Yeah, I don't know if you could read that, but yeah. And these two are striping together so well. So this was actually an Edinburgh Yarn Festival purchase, and this was from the Pom Pom Christmas party in 2016. So it's about time that these get knitted. I don't like having these old things in my stash, although that's going to happen because last year's yarn purchases. Yeah. So the stitch markers are just counting every 10 stitches, because I am knitting up to 90, and so far I have about 56 stitches. So when I have 90, I'm going to do something different in the pattern, I guess. I think that was the number anyway. So yeah, I could just hold this up forever. It's so beautiful. I've been excited to make this shawl for quite a while because I get very easily impressed with single ply merinos. They take up dye so well, but it's not a yarn I use that much, so I just, yeah, decided to do the Vertices Unite because I think it's going to be perfect for that. It does seem to use a, I want to say, slightly looser gauge than what you usually find, which suits me and this yarn really well. I think with single ply merinos you need to contain it somehow, because there's no, you know, plying there that keeps it contained, I suppose, if that's what you want to do with it. And so this is definitely finding a home for a lot of my single ply merinos, which is good because they keep coming in. And so I think I will be wrapping up the first half of this episode. The next half is going to cover my adventure at Vogue Knitting Live in New York, a bit of vlogging, but mostly just my acquisitions. If that's not your thing, that is totally fine. I think you got the most important announcements on this episode half. So the other half is just going to be about things and people and stuff that may only be interesting to people who have stuck around for a while perhaps, but you're more than welcome to watch that as well. So thank you so much for watching. Maybe see you on the other side, but if not, I will see you in the other episode. Bye.